2026, what's in the bag? Driver. You can tell, old one, but still absolutely great. TaylorMade M2. D-type, which I believe is more of a draw biased club. I don't draw the ball, but it's nice when I'm hitting the fades to have the start line a little bit less so it comes back to target. The lead tape on the heel here again promotes that left start. My swing then allows it to fade back, but actually the lead tape is not actually for that. It's just an added benefit of where I've put it. The lead tape is actually to bring the head weight up. So the head weight of this is now 204 grams. And the reason why I've done that is because there's actually a mini driver length shaft in the driver. So it's the Ventus Velocore 6S. Playing length is 43.75. So it is essentially, it's a long 3-wood mini driver length club. And to play that, I needed to bring the head weight up a little bit. I experimented around with head weights, settled on 204 because I actually added 5 grams more, couldn't hit it, ended up topping it, ended up pulling it left, which is the exact opposite of what I want to do. You can see actually here where I took off the lead tape mid-round, practice round, so you know, not a problem doing that, and then straight back to middle of the face, middle of the fairway. So 5 grams extra weight actually caused the balance of the club to completely go askew. So I've settled on 204 gram head weight. We have the +4 mid-size Golf Pride grip. All my grips, apart from my wedges, are mid-size just because I like the feeling of that in the hands. So yeah, a Frankenstein's monster of a mini driver. And then the actual mini driver is, can't see that there, is the TaylorMade original one. So this is actually where the shaft for the driver came from. It is a 13.5 degree head. I've got it playing a couple of clicks higher loft, round about 14.5, just so it fits nicely in terms of gapping. So it's a 3-wood, but because it's a mini driver, I feel a lot more confident off the tee than I would a normal 3-wood. And the likelihood of me hitting a 3-wood off the fairway is very, very minimal anyway, given the length of the courses that I play. Now, the shaft that I put in this is the Diamana RB, so the red board 83 stiff. Not usually a red board player. I would say, you know, the blue profile of shafts is probably more where I enjoy being, but this is actually heavier. So it's quite a heavy 3-wood in terms of shaft weight at 83. So just putting the red board in there just helps that a little bit. But absolutely brilliant club, especially off the tee on the holes where I don't want to hit driver. Now down to what would be the 7-wood. It's the Callaway Apex UW. Absolutely love this club in 21 degrees. The UW is the utility wood. It's not quite a hybrid, not quite a wood. Struggle with hybrids because they tend to have offset and they tend to go left on me and too high. Woods, I just never get on with the sweeping action. I want to hit down on the ball like an iron. So this has been an absolute brilliant club for me. 21 degrees. Custom fit at SGGT down in Chesterfield by Jordan. Brilliant experience, highly recommend it. This is the Diamana BB83 stiff. So the blue board version of the red board that we have in the mini driver. Absolutely love this club. It's pure as well because it was fitted I struggle to miss-hit this club. I can't really hit it off the tee where I play, just because generally speaking it's very, very windy and this launch is very, very high. But on certain holes or when there's not a lot of wind, this is a brilliant tee club as well as a brilliant fairway club. Now, off the tee into the wind, we have the 3-iron, the driving iron, the Ping Eye crossover. It's a 3, but it's actually declicked down to 19 degrees, so either a very strong 3-iron or a 2-iron in old money. Brilliant off the tee, actually really, really good second shots into par 5s during winter as well, now that the greens are really receptive and soft. Absolutely no issue whatsoever knuckling one of these into a par 5. I've put in Hazardous Black, the 6.0 80-gram shaft. Absolutely love this shaft. I picked it up second hand like I do with most of my shafts, and then got it put in. This again has mid-size grip. This one just has a bit of the rib on the back just so I can feel it in my hands, because I hit this off the tee a lot and I'm not going to be manipulating it too much. Now, the odd club that's in and out of the bag is the 5-iron. It is a Ping G710. I don't know why I had this one club. Never had a G710 set. We just have this one club in the garage. And I thought, okay, let's reshaft it. It serves a purpose for one particular hole and one shot only at my club, which is a long par 3. If the pin's at the back, it's the only time that this club would come in the bag, if that pin is at the back. Axiom, Fujikura, Velocore again, 105 stiff. Could have gone into this with all my irons. I didn't. It's quite expensive. It's beautiful. Love it. But I didn't feel like it gave me much more than what the shafts I put in give me. But reshafting this, absolutely love it. Lampkin, mid-size cross line on all my irons from now on. Yep, only in the bag, like I say, if the pin's at the back on one of the par 3s. Now, my actual irons. Again, custom fit at SGGT down in Chesterfield by Jordan. Pured, dynamic gold, 105 S300s. So actually I went down in weight when I played in my 20s, before I took a 10-year break from the game. I was quite heavy, S300, and actually into the X100 at one point as well. So finding the weight difference actually just a lot easier now that I'm approaching middle age, fastly approaching middle age. But they are the Cobra King Tour Forged irons. Really nice, quite soft, in terms of a player's distance iron. The profile as well is not too large. Really like how it sits at the ball. The sole though is quite nice. The sole is quite thick for the turf interaction, especially sort of in the boggy conditions that we can sometimes get here in Yorkshire. Lead tape on all the irons just to try and increase the spin. Being a distance iron, although a player's distance iron, the lofts are slightly cranked strong. Not too bad. The pitching wedge is 44. I was used to playing a 46. Some of them go all the way down to 42 on some of the sets, and probably even less than that. So pitching wedge is strong. So the spin rates go down. So the tape is there just to try and bring that spin up a little bit. But absolutely love them. Only problem I have, like I say, is with the spin rates, downwind especially. So downwind, I actually get really, really quite scared because they can just knuckle. So par 5 second shot, over 200 yards. I actually take the pitching wedge and I end up losing my ball through the back of the green, over 200 yards. So something I'm looking maybe for the summer is addressing the spin rates. Now the ball has also done that, which I'll show you in a bit. But other than that, other than downwind, the irons are really, really good. Now to address that, one of the things I have done is I've got another 46 degree wedge. This is bent to 47, 8 degrees of bounce, well, probably more like 9 degrees because it's bent a little bit. It is the Titleist SM6 F grind. Again, brilliant. Probably don't need it in the winter. With the receptive soft greens, I can just choke down on the wedge, the pitching wedge, and just hit that into the greens and it'll stop. But in the summer, having this extra little gap wedge in between will really, really help produce the spin numbers that I want at about 100, 110, 115 yards. So that has been absolutely brilliant. 50 degree wedge, Cleveland mid bounce 10. Now something I should say that I haven't said is all my irons are at least 2 degrees flat. The main irons are 2 degrees flat, the wedges are all 2 degrees flat, apart from my lob wedge, which is actually 3 degrees flat. Reason for this, wedges, I want them to sit flush. I want them absolutely, that leading edge, I want that as flush to the ground as possible so I can get my hands low. Having flat wedges helps with that. And in terms of the irons, I don't want to see the ball turning over left. So flattening off the clubs helps my start line go sort of neutral to the right, and then I know the ball is either going to go straight or a slight fade. The last thing I want with any of my clubs is to see the ball going left. The bag is basically set up to be anti-left. Shafts in the wedges are dynamic gold S400s, which are slightly interesting in that, you know, common wisdom is that you go softer and lighter, maybe not softer, but certainly lighter in the wedge shafts. I've actually gone heavier and stiffer with the S400s. I just like the way the head feels in the hand when it comes to having that heavy weight. And that's the same all the way up until the lob wedge. The lob wedge is slightly different. Now we have the 56, which is actually bent to 54. Again, exactly the same Cleveland RTX4 as the 50. Those came as a little pair second hand. And then the reason why I bent the 56 to 54 is I then picked up this Callaway Opus wedge. Again, I've bent it 3 degrees flat. It's the 6 degrees of bounce, 58 degrees of loft, and it's the T-grind sole. And it's the T-grind sole that I absolutely love. It allows me just to open that face up and play little chip shots around the green. It's absolutely brilliant in the summer firm conditions here up in the north of England. That club is going to get under the ball, nip it really nicely with that low bounce and that T-grind sole that you can see has a little bit of pre-leading edge wear already in it. Just a standard dynamic gold S. I think it's S300, or maybe it's just the wedge, but it's 115 grams, so a bit lighter. Don't mind that with the lobby. Not too bad at all, but yeah, 4 wedges is perhaps a touch extreme. Like I say, the gap wedge will probably come out in the winter, go in during the summer. Maybe a little bit of work there on finalising that. Now, my pride and joy to finish is the putter. You can probably tell what it is by the head cover. It's a Scotty Cameron. Newport Beach 303. I actually picked this up for £70 second hand at Bradley Park Golf Club back, well, we're talking almost 15 years ago now, when I was still playing full time. Yeah, what can you say about a Scotty Cameron other than it is absolutely beautiful, especially when you have the sort of the Tiger Woods ping old school grip on it as well. Brilliant in the winter. You don't have to give it much more power. You know, it comes off the face really nice every single time. And because it's, you know, that Newport blade design, I feel like when the greens are sort of like bobbly and not so great in the winter, you're not going to duff it as much. You know, you're not going to hit the imperfections of the green because it's that slimmer face. So that's just a quirk of winter here in the UK, in that our greens, especially the north of England, take quite a bit of a battering with the rain. Now, that's the playing bag, 15 clubs. Like I say, the 5-iron is the one that sometimes comes out, or it's the second gap wedge. In terms of what else I have, well, I have my warm-up club, which is a 7-iron of a Ping Blueprint T. Nice compact blade. Really, really obviously unforgiving on mishits. So being able to really look at the strike when warming up is really important. This is just a dynamic gold 120 S300, nothing particularly special there. It has the reminder grip, the training grip on. You know, I'm not going to lie, you know, I got this from Scotty Scheffler, who warms up with one of these, I think on his 6-iron. So I went for a tremendously unforgiving iron, though it's actually not that much smaller than the irons I grew up playing when I was younger. You know, honing that strike and then obviously working on the grip. Really, really important for me, working on the grip. Also in the bag are the alignment aids. Really, really important, working on alignment during a range session, during a practice session. Some of the Robert Rock drills that are on YouTube, really good with these. In terms of rangefinder, I don't know, Tasco, picked it up at Howley Hall when I was a member there quite a few years ago now. It's fine, wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It was cheap, it works, does the thing. And then also on the bag is my other training aid, again Robert Rock inspired, TRS slider. Goes across your chest, right arm for right-handed players goes in, and then it just keeps that elbow nice and tucked throughout the swing. Really, really helped the consistency of my practice. So the training aid grip is the consistency of the grip, and then the slider is the consistency of the plane and that tucked elbow on the backswing. Really, really revolutionized the way that I train in terms of the consistency that I have. Now, balls are quite simple, really. So, TaylorMade Tour Response 3-piece balls for the winter. Not going to play premium balls in the winter here, you know, with the rough and the mud, especially up here in the north. So I find that these spin absolutely fine off of the mats that we have to use in the winter. So, yep, Tour Response TaylorMade balls. And then for the summer, it's the Srixon Z-Star Diamond that I've gone with. Now, the reason why I've gone with a diamond is again to do with spin levels. I want to keep that spin as low as I can off the tee with the driver, but I want to keep the spin as high as I can with the irons and the wedges. I don't really want to play a completely spinny ball, just because we play a very windy golf course, and it would be very easy just to balloon a spinny ball up into the headwind. I need to be able to keep it low, keep it running, and piercing through the wind. And technically what the diamond is supposed to do is keep that spin low on the driver and up the spin when it comes to wedges and irons. So hopefully, again, in the summer, these will work really, really nicely going into the greens, because if there's one thing I'm probably not set with, it's the spin rate of the irons in terms of my approach shots. You know, I would really, really like a bit more spin when it comes to around the greens, 150 yards and in. Whether I can do that with my ball without compromising the tee shots, or whether I have to look at maybe going back to more of a cavity, well, not a cavity, a muscle back design, maybe even a blade design like the Blueprint. Then maybe as I get back into the game again and my strike improves, maybe that's something that I will do. I don't wear a glove. I just literally tape up my left thumb, absolutely fine. The reason why I have mid-sized grips is because my hands do move quite a bit during the transition period. So taping up that thumb is just where I get my wear, and it just gives me that extra little bit of grip on that point of the club. And you'll probably see on all my grips that wear mark of where the left thumb is on it. And then lastly, something that I used all of last year was just to track my shots through my round. So as we went, just tracking fairways, distance, greens, putts, etc. This is actually one of the, well, not a particularly good round. I don't know where that was. Let me have a look. It also tells me where and when. Oh, right, so that was actually a golf club over in Manchester that I'd not played for 20 years, so that explains why that round was a little bit of a shocker. But yeah, Journal 18, and the great thing about this is it will just wash off. So I can just wipe away the score and put a new score in. I have an actual score book that I keep here at home that I write up all my rounds in at the end of every round, and it just means I can track the season. I prefer doing it by hand instead of by shot scope or something like that, just because I feel more active in the process. Don't get me wrong, I'm not Matt Fitzpatrick with boxes and boxes and boxes of every single round that I've ever had, but it is a nice way of just tactile feedback from my rounds. So like this summer, I was able to see that actually it wasn't my tee game that was the problem. My tee game was actually extremely strong, even though I wouldn't call myself the best driver of the golf ball in the world. It was actually my approach shots into the green that was losing my scores, and that's what then led me to look into the spin rates of the ball and the irons, because I just wasn't holding greens. It was burnt out all summer, very dry, very hard, very fast. So that then gave me the information that I needed to go and look in to trying to up the spin of the clubs, the spin of the ball, etc., etc., and working essentially on the wedge play and why there's 4 wedges there. So it was a really good way of me seeing what I needed to work on. But I think that is pretty much 2026 what's in the bag.